Budz Life is Strange Double Exposure is coming out on the 15th of October. If you purchased the Ultimate Edition, which I did back in June, and here we are like a week away from the actual release of Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, I just want to say I absolutely love this franchise, and I cannot believe it's already been 3 years since True Colors like came out. Now, I've grown up with this franchise, as I know a lot of you guys have as well, and of course it is really special to me as an individual. And just like Max Caulfield's voice actor Hannah Tell said,
tattoos etched on their skin permanently because the game changed them.
I might have been a little touched, yeah. Now, my tattoo is actually one of the clothing options that you can use when you play Before the Storm, which happens to be my favorite out of all of the franchise. And that is just my opinion. If you disagree, that's totally okay. I've been having a lot of hate lately for sharing opinions about things I'm excited about, and I just want to be excited about something. So let's get into this video. Spoilers for the original, Before the Storm, Life is Strange 2, True Colors, and the comics. I think we should first start off with, where has Max been since the original game? Now, because of the trauma that took place over 10 years ago in Arcadia Bay, Max has been off-roading, living that nomadic lifestyle where she's actually a freelance photographer. That is until the president of Caledon University offers her a position. Max becomes an artist in residence at the Vermont College. And I've seen some official Instagram pictures and stuff saying that she's the professor there, but I'm going off of what they say in the official YouTube videos. But the main point is she's made a spot for herself here. This is a place she's satisfied with calling home, at least for the time being. And since it has been 10 years, our little introverted Max has finally spread her wings a little bit, still in that nice Caulfield style though, more confident, having two new primary friends in Moses and Safi. The team at Deck 9 have done an amazing job making Moses and Safi actually feel like genuinely human, and also people that Max would want to hang out with. And I think that they have done an excellent job with Max's new partners in time. And I cannot wait to see how their dynamic unfolds as the murder mystery develops. You didn't actually say anything about the murder. What? I didn't know. Oh, okay. Well, there's a murder mystery. Safi leaves to take a call and Max soon follows after her. She catches up with Safi only to find that she's been murdered. She's been shot in what appears to be the ribs and dies almost immediately. With all of this brand new trauma for Max, she sees at Safi's funeral that her rewind power that's been dormant for years out of neglect because she's too afraid to use it again because of what happened with Arcadia Bay have manifested in a new form. Shifting. Or phasing. There's kind of two abilities that come with this, but rewind is no longer a thing, just from years of atrophy. And this new power allows Max to open the veil and go to a different dimension, a parallel timeline that is very similar to her original timeline. A new timeline where Safi is still alive, but in grave danger. It's up to Max to solve Safi's murder in her original dimension and keep Safi safe in the secondary dimension because her killer is still at large. And as we all know, your actions will have consequences, so your game will shape out differently with what options you pick out. And speaking of options, why don't we hear directly from the devs at what the actual canon ending to the original game is?
The returning players from Max's first adventure will remember that there's a massive decision to make at the end of that game results in two very different endings. And it was really important at Deck 9, if we were going to make another Max adventure, that the game would have to respect both those endings. Life is Strange Double Exposure does that very thing. There's no canon ending in our book to the first game.
Huh. Early in the game, Safi will ask Max many questions about her past, and specifically,
is this about the blue-haired girl whose picture you keep in your wallet?
Here you will get to pick if you want the game's original timeline to have a living Chloe or a dead Chloe. Similarly, how in the Wavelengths DLC for True Colors, it just straight up asks you if you sacrificed Bay or Bay. And guys, this is the first time ever that I have questioned Bay over Bay. Let me explain. I am a Chloe Price, live or die, through and through. I love my girl Chloe Price. I would do anything for Chloe Price. I am a huge Bay over Bay type of girl. But I've always considered the official ending to the original game to be Arcadia Bay being saved, because not only does that feel like something Max would do, but it also feels like something Chloe would do. But that's not the point. I just want her to live a happy, a long, and a nice life. And speaking of Chloe, I missed her so much that I went through and I reread the comics to see her living that best life, where she's living happily on the beaches of California with Rachel. But since Max is kind of by herself with new friends, the question has to show up. Where is Chloe? If the player chooses that Chloe is dead and Arcadia Bay was saved, then that would make sense why Max is alone and living her life. But if the player chooses to have saved Chloe, then that makes me question, where the hell is she? And part of me wants to believe that if you pick Bay over Bay, then of course there'll be like a flashback or a cutscene at the very end of the game where Chloe comes back and runs into your arms, and that probably won't happen. But I feel like if she was alive, no matter what Max wants, she would follow her. Like, Chloe has nothing else now. She has no family, nothing. She would just go with Max. They bonded enough that they are, if not lovers, then lifetime friends just from shared trauma. And with this open ending of like, which is canon, like left to the player, I think that that's great because it gives so much more like replayability. I'm gonna go through probably my first playthrough saying, no, Chloe isn't alive, she died. And then the next one, she is my wife. Do not mess with my wife. Just so I can have both sides, because why not? And for those of you who watched my True Colors playthrough, when I do a second playthrough, I swear it will be intentional this time, and I will not delete my full save after 18 hours of completing the full game, because that still haunts me. Okay, now that the biggest things are out of the way, we gotta talk about the comics. I'm not gonna explain the entire story because without a full video dedicated to it, it's gonna get very all over the place. But long story short, it's incredibly similar to Double Exposure. Max's powers randomly reawaken and start acting up, and she shifts into this new timeline. But the only way that she can get back to her original timeline is via Tristan, a boy from the secondary dimension that Max meets up with. And when both Chloes in both dimensions are close to each other. This is so confusing to say. Chloe is alive in both of these dimensions. She's the anchor of Max's timelines. And another thing with all of the timelines and like string theory, this Max might not even be our Max. This could be a totally different timeline in and of itself. And that could be why they're leaving the main story kind of up for grabs, because they're saying, hey, have fun in this random timeline. We'll talk about the canon of this one later. Could this Max be from like a totally separate timeline altogether? I mean, that could explain why Chloe isn't in Double Exposure, or at least not shown off yet. If this is a totally separate timeline, then maybe everything that happened in Arcadia Bay is simply just a shared consciousness between the timelines, which is something that they also talk about in the comics. I am probably reading way too much into this, just trying to cope with the fact that Chloe is probably not going to show up. But on the off chance that she does, I called it. But where does Tristan fit into all of this? I suppose that Safi could become the anchor instead of Chloe. It's just interesting because of how similar these stories are, but the comics did release in 2018. And that story could have just been a stepping stone for what they actually wanted to do in Double Exposure. And I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, because the comics are frankly really cool. And I'm not sure if I'm the only person thinking this, like if I've gone too into the deep end or what. So let me know. And if you're interested in reading the comics, you can get them for yourself on Amazon or probably some sketchy as hell website. Okay, Safi's murder. We should probably cover that. Safi was talking to Max about her poems that she has been preparing to sell off to someone via a contract. She gets a call while talking to Max and takes it in private. Max follows after her later on and hears a gunshot, and Safi is fine still. But as Max gets closer, she realizes that Safi is suddenly dead. No footprints, no murder weapon, nothing. Even at the funeral, Max says,
everybody's talking about her like she had a heart attack or a car accident. But she was murdered.
And there is for sure foul play going on here. The angle of Safi on this bench, and if we're going with the idea that she was shot, could match up with the rooftop of this building here. How somebody would have got a gun, let alone one with enough pinpoint accuracy to shoot from this rooftop at a college is beyond me. Now, I live in Vermont, and I'm gonna say it, our gun laws aren't perfect here either, but it's something that you don't see every day. And the dismissive nature of people that Max is talking to makes it seem super suspicious. Whether they're in disbelief or whatever, it still begs the question, why Safi? I know racism is a gigantic plot point in Life is Strange 2. Hell, I think anyone who's ever seen anything about the game knows that. I believe that they handled very well in that game, and as a Latina, even if I don't look like one, it is so nice to not have white-centered characters. And it's just nice to see something like that also in True Colors. Why do I bring this up? Well, this is Safi. Definitely not white-centric, and this could be a hate crime. A murder for being a different ethnicity or having a different religion or anything even along those lines. I'm also thinking blackmail. Now, Safi was waiting to sign papers for her poems, and she gets a call from someone asking for her, walks away, and when Max follows her later on, she sees signs of frustration. Chain smoking, which apparently Safi has been trying to cut back on, and then later a kicked over snowman head. Was Safi upset at the call or possibly being blackmailed into signing or not signing something? Maybe out of stress she decided to smoke and the call continued going bad, and then as she was walking away, she kicked the snowman and walked to a more discreet location so she can vent out her anger a little louder. Maybe she was directed to go somewhere further from people or to that specific spot, and then boom, gone. Now, it could be something as simple as she was secretly depressed. However, there is no weapons, so unless she set up like a saw trap nearby and then cleared the evidence as a ghost, I don't think that that happened. And even the game makes a mention of this, like, that's not at all what happened. Definitely something third party was going on here. Another thing is that everything seems really normal prior to Safi's death. Max and her are talking on the roof before she walks out to take the call, and Max even says,
I haven't seen a moon this bright outside of Oregon.
She then takes a photo of it and suddenly begins to feel off. Something isn't right with her head. She decides to go home and rest, but as she's doing that, a weird occurrence happens. An owl perches on a statue nearby. Anyone else seeing this? This is identical. These are the same thing. Saying, hey, something is coming. Something's gonna happen. Woo-hoo! Warning sign! Ding, 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 ding! Someone's gonna die! And she does the most Max Caulfield thing ever and takes a picture of it, and her head gets like 10 times worse. She falls to the ground and then she blacks out entirely. And that is a perfect segue into something I really wanted to talk about, which is Max's new powers. If Max's powers evolve from rewind to phase, does that negate the possibility of there being another storm? And when Max meets Tristan, who also has powers, and I just realized I forgot to talk about that, he has invisibility powers, they start to see these little flutters or like blips into the other timelines. And at the very end of the comics, a massive storm starts to swell, a hurricane. That luckily was avoided in both realities, but it begs the question, is this just a repercussion of Max's powers? Whether that be rewind or phase, is it just something that's gonna happen regardless? And if so, why only Max? Because we don't see that in any of the other games where people have powers. And even more stuff, like why are they blurring out whatever's on this pride flag? What's inside of this notebook? And who are these people?
It's a conspiracy.
But overall, I feel like this is the best way to set this game up for success. Give me some stuff to go on, but not too much. Okay, I don't want too much. And since this game is releasing chapter by chapter with the, exception of the Ultimate Edition pre-order, it's gonna be so much fun to come back each week and be like, ooh, chapter 4, ooh, chapter 5, and then it's suddenly over. And then I can go and play the little kitty cat DLC. Look at that kitty cat. That kitty cat is oh so nice, so nice. What are your thoughts though, Budz? And are you new to Life is Strange, or are you a longtime player like myself who's just excited to see Max coming back? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, I am going to be playing this and uploading this to the YouTube. So if you're interested in that, then you should hella hit that subscribe button. So that way you don't miss out on any of those videos. But without further ado, Budz, remember to join the village today. It's only a click away.